Hi, I've had some people ask me about fruitcakes and what's going on for making them. Some of these people make faces and talk about how horrible a fruitcake actually is. They've recounted stories of their mother buying the fruitcake from the store and how they ended up using it as a doorstop because it was so inedible. Well, I have a family recipe and it was handed down to me from my mother. And the thing is, I have been asked not to share it. So I'm sorry, if you really want one, you're simply going to have to get a piece of one from me. The big thing is we're going to have a little fun today with this. I'm not going to give details, like I said, family recipe, but I am going to sit there and use the camera and we're going to just kind of go over the basics of what all a fruitcake involves. The big thing is we're going to be mixing this by hand. We're not using a mixer, not because the batter is too thick, but because the mixer will actually tear up our candied fruits, and that's one of the things we want to preserve in our fruitcake. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around and we'll get started, and I hope you guys enjoy what you see. If you don't, all I'm going to ask is you don't make faces, just let me say, well, maybe somebody else would like it. Catch you in a bit. Okay, we're back now with the camera in a little better position. So what we've got here is three basic components to a fruitcake. We have our candied fruits, nuts and some dried fruits. We have over here moisture, which we're going to set aside for right now. And we have our flour. Now, like I said, this has to be added in a particular order. The big thing is we are trying to not destroy our fruit along the way. So we're going to start by taking this fruit and getting everything coated. So we're going to go ahead and mix this in. Now mixing slowly by hand, trying to work it across. We're simply going to work the flour and the spices all across the candied nut, the candied fruits, the dried fruits, and the nuts. Our goal is to get everything evenly coated. Now there's obviously going to be more of our flour mixture than there is candied fruit, and that is just fine and dandy. Because I said we're just going to work with that. Now the big thing here, go ahead and get yourself a good sturdy pan, a good sturdy wooden handle to turn this with, otherwise the will break on you. Like one of those celebrities out there who's trying to do a speech, all of a sudden, oh my God, I've got to dive for the water. Well, guess what? I'm no fancy celebrity. Let's go ahead and we're going to go into this. I think you've seen enough stirring for a bit. I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm going to get back to you, and I'm ready for my next step. See you in a few minutes. Okay, and we're back. We've got our fruits pretty well coated here. You can see we've got kind of an even coating. We're working around through everything, just trying to get this mixture on there. Well, my moisture has already been cooked. This had to be boiled about 5 minutes. I had to let it cool down just a little bit. Still has a little bit of warmth in the bottom of it. But let's go ahead and get this added in now. And this is our batter. Okay, set that aside. Now we're going to go back to stirring again. And once again, stirring is always as boring as hell. But that's why we do it, because it has to be done. You can see already that we're starting to get something to form up there, and the aroma of the fruitcake is starting to come up already. But we're not going to get anywhere until this becomes a smooth, consistent mixture throughout. This is one of the most important areas to have a sturdy stirring paddle, because I have actually broken them before from being too weak. Also, the better stirring paddle you have, the stronger it's going to be, the quicker you're going to get this part done. And this is definitely not the most exciting part of your fruitcake. Now there, you can see you've got the red cherries in there. There's no big surprise. You can use red or green cherries. Personally, there's no big flavor difference for me, but I like the look of red cherries better. Some people want the mixture of red and green together. That's just fine. But, just however you choose. The fruit you choose in particular is not as important as getting a good fruit ratio to your flour and moisture ratio. So by the time we're done, we have this very thick batter. And you can see that we're getting some pretty good thickness on here. I need to turn this a little bit to the side now. Not for your viewing, but so we can get a better idea of how everything's going to mix together, because I've got to get this flour off the bottom. So we're going to continue stirring this. I'll be back in a few minutes when I'm all done. And we're back. You can see now everything is nice and mixed together. The big goal here was to get all of the flour to be absorbed into our batter. It's a very thick batter, as you can tell from here as we look at this. Now the next is to get it into our pans. Everybody remembers those big pans that we got from Collins Street Baker. Our mothers would order these from Collins Street Baker down in Waco, and they're fantastic fruitcakes, but they're very big. This is it. Look at this. You know, compare the size of my hand. That's it. You know, small enough here. This one recipe is going to make 4 of these little cans, 4 of these cakes. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get some parchment paper. Parchment paper makes our life a little bit easier. We're not going to deal with Pam or anything else or Crisco. We're just going to line these up. Now, you got 2 choices when you work with your parchment paper. You can overcut it, or you can try to cut it exactly to match. This is a fruitcake. I promise you, overcut it. And the reason why is when we get done with baking, we are going to be going back and dousing these with alcohol. This parchment paper at that time is going to act like a nice little area to hold each of these cakes together. I'm just going to take my paddle here and kind of press these into the bottom of each of my 4 pans. So I've got one started here. Work it in. And then we'll get this one cake done here with you watching. And then after that, I'm going to get the other 3 done. Like I said, just a simple bit working in there. I know you're thinking, oh my God, this looks just like, oh yeah, cookie dough. That's what cookie dough looks like when you first get it out. It is soft. And we have all of our ingredients in here. This is where it starts getting a little bit fun. The aroma is already coming up even from the batter. Because this is one of the things about these fruitcakes is extremely aromatic from the liquids in them and everything else. I'm going to turn this a couple times. Now my goal here is I'm going to fill the fruitcake pan to just below the surface of the can itself. I'm going to get them all matched up. Once I get all 4 of them out there, I'm going to be coming back and trying to make sure I've got them all nice and even. But now you can kind of see we have one of our 4 cakes put together in the pan. I'll be back here in a bit once I've got the rest of the 4, because I really think y'all would get bored watching this 3 more times, kind of like watching paint dry. And Clay Boris, one of the directors of the Highlander episodes, I think if we sit there and he saw me making you watch me do 3 more of these, he himself would come up to me and have a little chat with my directorial abilities. Basically, he said they suck. So we're going to get back to you here in a bit, and I hope you're looking forward to what's left, because we're almost done with the preparation. Okay, and we are back. I've got 4 cakes all filled up. You've also noticed that I went ahead and trimmed down the parchment paper. This is what I was talking about. It makes it a lot easier to do it this way, because otherwise you're going to end up with parchment paper. It's always too short. The cakes are going to be overflowing it, and we actually need the extra parchment paper on here to help us later on when we go ahead and start dousing with alcohol. Now I'm taking a quick spatula and just smoothing down the edges a tiny bit, just because it's going to make it look a little bit nicer here as for my next thing. You don't have to do this. This is just something I kind of start on a whim. You've seen chefs do this. Yes, you watch the professional chefs, and they're always trying to make things look pretty. So I'm taking the family recipe and I'm modifying it just a little bit. My cousin, please do not start down the warpath on me on this particular mod, because family recipes don't always stay the exact same. They grow. They become more. Some things work, some things don't. We're going to find out if this works as well as I hope it does. I think it's going to do more than just give it an appearance. I'd like to give it just a little extra flavor because, well, the truth is I like walnuts. And while I love all the walnuts in here, there are times I would like just a little bit more walnut on it. So I said, just get the spatula in here. Get a sturdy spatula to do this. If you choose to do this. If you don't, like I said, they'll cook up just as nice. But you see, we got the 4 are now a really nice layer on top of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some walnuts. I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of layer them in here around the edges, just to kind of garnish it up a little bit here, give it a little crown. So if you look at the cake, you're not actually handed a lump. It's like, oh, this is the top because, well, here's the walnuts I pressed in. And after that, I'm going to sit there. I'm just going to crush a few with my hand, and I'm just going to sprinkle those inside this a little bit, just to give it a little bit of extra flavor on that. I said, this may work. My cousin may sit there and go, that's not part of the family recipe, but I like it. And again, I may be getting a nasty Graham comment on this particular video. We'll have to wait and find out. I'm in suspense. That's telling me, oh man, I'm running short on walnuts. So we may not have that for all of them. So, we'll get there. So I hope you're enjoying this so far. But like I said, I think what you've seen so far is when I talk about making 8 cakes, I'm not making huge cakes over here. This is not a bakery. This is just my kitchen. We're having a little fun doing this. Fruitcakes, of course, have been around for who knows how many hundreds of years. You know, just as the people have done this, shared these things, that had their own particular recipes. I've had several people ask me saying, without even trying mine, what's yours? They want to try it for themselves and see what they think. And there's some people who try it and would instantly go, oh, well, I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't want that. More power to you. Because that is the fun part about fruitcakes. It's kind of like, you know, chili. Chili is just one of those dishes that is different everywhere. Chili cook-off is great because you'll find people who stick to the standard approved formula. And those people are going to sit there and have a nice chili. It's going to look the same as everybody else. There's always those rebels out there who are just going to do something different. Okay, let's finish just sprinkling in some walnut crumbs that are left in this bag here. And we are going to call the preparation done. Sprinkle that in there. Good. Just give it a nice little look. I've already done 4 this way, and then when they came out, they looked gorgeous on top. Okay, now over to the oven. So, say our first 2. Just coming over here. Always grab the hot pad. You only grab the oven with bare hands once. And as I put them in here, I'm going to go and put them across the grates so they're going to stand up a little straighter. Big thing, as I get these in the oven, I want to be centered in just a bit, but I also want some space in here. I can get this up here so you can see the space in there just a little better. Yeah. Our last 2, and we're going to put these in here. I need that space to be even around them so they're going to cook evenly. Got a good shot of this. Okay. Let's go ahead and close the oven. Set the timer. Back in a minute for some closing comments. For our final comments. What's going on now? The cakes are in the oven. They're going to spend over an hour in there. They're going to be doing some wonderful cooking. After that, I'm going to get them out. I'm going to put them on a cooling rack before I do anything else. Cover them with a fresh towel, not your regular kitchen just pet towels. I'm gonna let them cool down like that. Once they're cooled down, I am gonna sit there and get some alcohol in these things. This is what makes fruitcakes, guys. It is the alcohol. So we're gonna start off here. If you have got a problem with alcohol, simply, you don't have to sit there and you don't need to explain anything. Just thanks. No, I'd rather not. Just a polite decline. If you want to make your own, I wouldn't even suggest, using essence of alcohol or the flavored in case there's ever been a problem for you. Also, religion. I've got a boss who cannot eat these because of his own religious beliefs. That's fine. Just all I'm going to ask is don't sit there and talk nasty about them, because people put a lot of effort into these. This is a family recipe. I've said this many times. But people put effort into these. They put their heart and soul into these. So don't talk bad to other fruitcakes. Let them enjoy them. And if it's not for you, that's all you need to say. It's not for you. I'm gonna do my dousing in 2 rounds. When those cooled off, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna put a little bit into each one of the cakes. Now the traditional is brandy. I've already got some cooked up in there with brandy already. So I'm gonna do a few more though that are gonna be using whiskey and rum. Now once again, my cousin's going on the warpath because I am not sticking to the family recipe, because the family recipe calls for, brandy. Family recipes evolve. This is what makes them family recipes. You can even talk about, this is my version of the family recipe. This is their version of it. Have a little fun with this. Just make it your own. Personally, I love that whiskey flavor in there, and a good rum cake is to die for. Let's hope these are going to come out good. I'm going to be using a good Jamaican rum on this one. And for my whiskey, I am going to my good whiskey. I like Jack Daniels. I love that sour mash flavor, and it is going to be using some of my best of the Jack Daniels. I mean, you're making a fruitcake, you're doing something you want to really enjoy. Why pour out your worst stuff when you should be using what you like best? You use bad ingredients, you're going to get a bad result. So use what's best for you and have a little fun with it. So I'll start off later on. I'm just like a couple tablespoons for each cake. I'm going to let that sit again. I'm going to let that soak in. And then I'm going to come back again, and then I'm going to put even more alcohol into it. That's the point of those parchment paper sticking up. That parchment paper sticking up is going to act like a little bowl to hold that alcohol in so it won't get away from me. Once all this alcohol is soaked into the cake, these things are going to be very moist, not ready to eat at all. I'm going to wrap them in cheesecloth all the way around a couple times. That's going to help hold everything together. I'm going to then put that in foil, and that is going to goes into a cool place. In Texas right now, it is 52 degrees. Who knows what's going to be tomorrow? 2 days ago, it was 84. So I'm going to use the refrigerator for my cool place. Otherwise, if it was up north, I would just put them like in a closed dispenser in my garage and keep them cool there. In about 4 or 5 weeks, these are finally going to be ready to cut. I'm looking forward to it, and when 4 or 5 weeks comes by, I cut that first cake. I'll set the camera up. I'll get the video going, and I'm going to dig into one, and we'll see how they came out this time. Like I said, I changed them from last year. I hope my efforts for how I changed them, what I've done, and how they've evolved under me comes out great. I hope the ones that I stuck to the family recipe on comes out just as good. But, you know, that's part of the fun of this. So, Christmas time, New Year's time, I'm ready for some fruitcakes. I've got a few people said, save one for me. You just might get one, but you know what the truth? I really wish you could come here and we could share one together. Because just like your favorite alcohol, your favorite drink, your favorite wine, fruitcakes sometimes are just best shared. Hope you guys have just enjoyed these quick videos on what a fruitcake is, how it's done up, and just, you know, enjoy yourself for the rest of the day. I'm going to snag some shots later on of the finished cakes. Once again, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Catch you later.